Hello everyone, and welcome to another Singerreise video podcast. My name is Jonathan Silvia, and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us. In this video, we're going to take a look at number 10 in the Winterreise cycle, Rast, or Rast if you prefer the uvular R. To put this piece into context, let's take a look briefly at the previous two pieces. In number 8, Rückblick, we were in a dead run, trying to get away from the town. In number 9, Irrlicht, it seems that we may have overdone the running just a little bit because we all of a sudden start seeing ghostly little flames, little will-o'-the-wisps. Well, here in number 10, Rast, it seems that those will-o'-the-wisps weren't really ghosts, but they were actually just a little fire from the charcoal burner's hut. Well, our wanderer decides that now is probably a good time to take a rest, and that's where we get the title of the piece, Rast. Ironically, the only time the word Rast appears in the text is in the middle of the first verse, in the second stanza of text. The line is, Die Füßen frugen nicht nach Rast, which basically translates to, my feet weren't asking for rest. In fact, the wanderer seems to spend the entire stanza trying to claim that his body was prepared to just keep on going. It was too cold for him to just remain standing still, and he even says that there was this storm wind that was pushing him forward from behind. His feet weren't asking for a rest, but of course he really did need to take a break. So he forces his way into the tiny little hut and tries to take a nap. He finds out that that's a little bit problematic because as soon as he stops moving and takes shelter from the storm outside, his legs start burning up because of the exertion and probably also a few blisters. Not one to let a perfectly good simile go unused, the wanderer compares the restlessness that's in his legs to that of, well, where else? His heart. Here too, he says that while his heart was out there in the storm, presumably loving his lover, that it felt fine. But as soon as he gets away from the storm and is now in the quiet, away from the situation, now his heart can start to feel that inside burning. Schubert's musical adaptation of this piece is kind of like a cross between the previous two pieces, at least as far as the accompaniment goes. For example, in Rückblick and in Rast, we have this steady eighth note pulse that goes from the beginning of the piece all the way through to the end of the piece. And just like in Rückblick, there's only two interruptions to this eighth note pulse. In this case, there's an interruption with a fermata just before each verse starts. However, just like we have in Irrlicht, the tempo is very slow and very weary. So I think in the accompaniment we have a little bit of the paradigm of the wanting to move forward but not having the strength anymore to do so. So we just simply are plodding along very slowly, mechanically almost, but still very slowly. Notably, there's almost no vocal doubling in this piece. The piano part is doing its own thing, just plodding forward, and the vocal line is doing something entirely different. If I had to pick, I would say that the piano part is representing the legs that just want to keep taking one more step and one more step. The vocal line, however, is a couple of different things. In the first half of each verse, the vocal line is very still. It keeps returning to the same pitch over and over again. And I think this is kind of the needing to take the rest and the stillness that we have, always returning back to a place of quietness. The second half of each verse, however, starts moving all over the place, down, up, and everywhere in between. For the first verse, I'd say that this is the blowing of the storm. In the second verse, however, I would say that this is the interior wriggling of the dragon. Okay, so the dragon. Schubert's depiction of the wriggling that's happening inside the wanderer's heart is probably my favorite part of the text. Here in the last two lines of the piece, the wanderer says to his heart, Fühlst in der Still erst deinen Wurm mit heißem Stich sich regen? And that basically translates to, do you feel in the quiet that dragon with its hot sting now stirring. The fun word here, of course, is wurm. Now, any dictionary and Google Translate would have you believe that this word means simply worm, like an earthworm. But I'm going to be a little bit poetic about it and say that it's a dragon. We have this a little bit in English literature as well. Sometimes we'll spell worm with a Y, and that will mean dragon. Like in Tolkien's The Hobbit, sometimes the great dragon Smaug is described as a worm. So I can't be that far off. In fact, this isn't any ordinary dragon either. It seems to be a fire-breathing dragon with a stinger attached, and there aren't many earthworms that can do that. Personalizing the translation in this way makes the text a little bit more menacing for me. And for dramatic purposes, I think that works a little bit better. Anytime that you are able to identify what the conflict is in a piece, anytime there's some risk involved and something's on the line, that means that there's a good story to be told. If there's no conflict, there's no story. But if you find that conflict, then you can tell the story and captivate and bring the audience into what you are saying. And so from now on, after I go for my morning run and my legs are burning from the exertion, I'm just going to blame it on waking up the dragons. I hope you enjoyed this presentation of Rast. If you want to find out more about Winterreise or about the life of a working opera singer, follow us at Singerreise.com, our official website. There you'll see more articles about these things, and you'll also find a lot of resources that are really good for the singer or people who enjoy singing. You can also follow along at facebook.com/Singerreise. And of course, you can watch all of these videos on our YouTube channel. You can also participate by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Singerreise. There, with your financial support, we can make sure that these Singerreise videos continue to be produced long into the future. If you can't become a financial patron of Singerreise, please consider taking this video and sharing it on your Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or your other social media accounts. Tell people about Singerreise so that we can reach and educate and entertain a number more people. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the musical presentation of Rast.
Go